My guest today declares that the administration of President Bola Tinubu has not favored the Southwest Zone in appointments deliberately. He also stated that the best way to get palliatives to the people is to go through groups of artisans and professional bodies rather than governors and politicians. Well, we'll try to get more out of him, especially how he views the performance of the president, as he is vital in getting him into power. Hello and welcome to Political Paradigm on Channels Television. I'm Kayla Megwa. Helping us get a view from an avid supporter of the president is my guest today, Mr. Adeyeye, born on the 4th of April, 1957 in Ikere-Ekiti, to the royal family of Oba David Okpeyemi Adeyeye, specifically to Agunsoye II, the Arinjale of Ise-Ekiti, who reigned between 1932 and 1976, and Olori Mary Ojulegye Adeyeye, a princess of Are, Ikere-Ekiti. His grandfather was Oba Aweloye I, Arinjale of Ise-Ekiti, from 1876 to 1919. He's a Nigerian politician and member of the All Progressives Congress, former Minister of State for Works under the Goodluck Jonathan administration, former Senator for Ekiti South Senatorial District, former NADECO chieftain, current national chairman of the Southwest Agenda for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, swagger, journalist, and author. Mr. Adeyeye, welcome to Political Paradigm.
Thank you for having me here.
I was looking at your resume. It's so many fields, teaching involved, a lawyer, a politician. Why so many areas at the same time? What's behind that story?
That's just my journey. I read political science at the University of Ibadan. And during my youth service, I taught for 1 year in a secondary school in the old Imo State, which I think the area now is in Abia State, or maybe Ebonyi State, Isukwato. I taught in a secondary school there. And after the youth service, I also taught for 1 year in a secondary school in Ekiti State, after which I did my master's degree, and then I went into journalism, working at Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria. Incidentally, I was there when your chairman was there too. And then later on, Punch newspapers, where I had various editorial positions. And in the interim, while in Punch and all those places, I read law as well. And I started practice about 1988. So I combined everything together.
It's been a very interesting career.
Yeah.
NADECO is the one I want to think about right now, because that was a very trying time in Nigeria's history. Many young people who are watching us right now may not understand how serious it was. As a young person, when I think about NADECO, it's Gani Fayemi that comes to my head. But a lot happened within that period, and you were part of that movement, trying to ensure that we get back to democratic governance. In fact, you worked with MKO Abiola at the time.
Yes.
So talk to us a bit about that period. What was that like?
My political journey started with my interactions with the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo while I was a journalist at the Punch newspapers. I did a series of interviews with him in 1983. Prior to the elections of that year. And so that aroused my interest in politics. The first opportunity for me to go into the political arena was when Chief Olufalaye appointed me as the director of media and publicity for his presidential campaign in 1990. After that, a lot of us who work for Chief Olufalaye were signed on by the late Chief MKO Abiola to also work with him. So that's how I came to the campaign of Chief MKO Abiola, the Hope 93 campaign. But after the election was unjustly annulled, some of us went into the trenches and joined with our leaders then in the National Democratic Coalition, people like Abraham Adesanya, the late Chief Bola Ige, even Chief Olufalaye himself, and many others. And we were their foot soldiers, helping them to carry out some of the things they wanted to do at that time. So currently, I was also involved in the politics of Afenifere, where I later on served as National Public Secretary for many years.
Yeah. How did you and President Tinubu get together? How did this friendship form?
I knew President Tinubu during the Nadeko days. He went on exile. Some of us remained there. But when he came back, by the time he came back and became was contesting for governor of Lagos State, I was National Public Secretary of Afenifere. And you know, Afenifere was the architect, or what I call the founder of the Alliance for Democracy, the first party that brought Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu to power in Lagos. He contested under the AD. So AD was like Afenifere, and Afenifere was like AD, and I was National Public Secretary of Afenifere. So in that capacity, we interacted a lot. He got to know me very well, and I got to know him very well. And so the relationship blossomed, and that has been the situation.
Let's talk a bit about now.
Yes.
Some of the members of Swagger have complained. They feel like they weren't compensated enough or recognized enough by the President Tinubu administration, especially when he came into power. You've defended him, but let's talk a bit about that. Some have also said that you wanted to be minister.
Well, it's the prerogative of the president to appoint his ministers and to give position and appoint people to various positions.
Did you want it?
I was ready to serve in any capacity that the president finds me suitable. So, because I campaigned for the president, for him to become president, realizing that he was the best man for the position in Nigeria, and so I was also ready to help the administration if he finds it necessary to put me in any position. But I was not desperate to be a minister. No. But I was ready. If the president had found me suitable or wanted me in his government, I was ready to serve. For my members, the rank and file of Swagger members, my appeal to them is always that they should be patient. The president is a person who doesn't forget. And one of the things that everybody say about him is that he's a man who has a big reputation for compensating those who, in one way or the other, have assisted him in any way. So he doesn't forget. He doesn't forget.
You think he'll still remember?
He has not forgotten them. He remembers them, and he will, in the course of time, in due course, they will find out that he remembers them and has not forgotten them. Not everybody will get position in government. We have to realize that. And when we were canvassing for him to become president of Nigeria, the motive was not for us to become to hold positions in government, really. That was not the motive. The motive was to find good governance for Nigeria. That should be the primary objective of every Swagger member. But it is also natural that people will expect that having very many qualified people in our rank and file, very many qualified people, experienced people, that they should, and who also believe in so much in the presidency of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that some of them will be naturally, they think that they should be considered for some important appointments. Yes, it's natural. And that's why, to that extent, I can understand their feelings. But my argument, my appeal is that they should be patient. They should be patient. The president, we're just starting. He's about 8 months into office. So let's give him a little more time.
I think it's a little bit more than 8 months.
Well, it may be a little more than 8 months.
You've been saying we should, well, apart from telling members of Swagger to be patient, you've been telling Nigerians to be patient. Mm-hmm. I read a few of your articles where you're saying,
yes,
don't judge him yet. When can we start judging him? May is just around the corner. We're looking at 2 months at most.
Yes. Thank you. Yesterday, when
10 months, not 8.
No, I would say Nigerians should just maintain patience. Yesterday, when the president was addressing some leaders in Akure, he said this was the way he started in Lagos. His first year was extremely rough in Lagos. People wrote him off. Things were hard. If you recall at that time, 10,000 workers were laid off. A lot of things happened, and people said this is a bad government. But 2 years, 3 years down the line, people were singing his praises because things began to turn around. People began to see the fruit of the decisions he took earlier on, the hard decisions that he made earlier on in government. And people started bearing fruit, and people began to see the effect of it positively. So, and he went on to win the second term. He was the only one of our governors in AD that won the second term. The other 5 did not win. He was the only one that won and remained and successfully completed the second term and was even able to install a successor. So, which means he did extremely well in Lagos. Lagos is an enlightened society. So, in the same way, he was telling people yesterday in Akure that he's not afraid. Yes, I'm taking the hard decisions now. Give me a little bit more time, you begin to see that these policies will begin to bear fruit. But Nigerians should not stampede him into abandoning these positions by excessive agitation, by actions and postures that could delay some of the programs that is already put in place. So we should give him time. We should be a little bit exercise patience.
How much time?
Give him another 2 years. 2 more years. Yeah.
So 3 years.
Things are already very, very bad before he took over. And he will not be able to correct those things in a matter of months or 1 year or 2 years. You have to give him a little more time. And then in another 3 years, we begin to see the effect of the policies. But even when you will even see it more, will be about 5 years, 6 years down the line. Because let me tell you, when a thing is rotting, completely destroyed, it takes time to rebuild. It takes time to. Nigerian economy, like Governor of Anambra said, was a dead horse. By the time could be described as a dead horse when Asiwaju Bola Ahmed took over. The horse was still standing. People think they still have the horse there, but the horse was dead. It's not that it was not falling; it was not on the floor.
Who do you blame for that? Is it the past administration?
I blame all the various administrations. I won't blame Buhari alone. Even government before Buhari, we have not been able to take the hard decisions. Don't forget that the issue of first subsidy had been on the table for more than 15 years. And government came and government went without taking the hard decisions. And so this one comes in, he has the courage and decided to go on and take that very hard and tough decision, which may be painful to people initially, but overall, in the long run, it's going to be beneficial to all of us. Because Nigeria is a big country with a huge population, teeming youth who are eager to find employment and make their own contributions. You need to put the economy on the sound foundation. You can't continue, it cannot be business as usual. You use all your resources to pay for fuel subsidy. You borrow money, you are in debt, you do ways and means of 22 trillion. How can you, the economy will just crumble one day. So the president must be given enough time to address these issues, to start from the basics, begin to deep to have a good foundation on which you can erect a superstructure, a very solid superstructure. I
mean, I want to get into the policies that he has enacted,
yes,
you know, at least in this first year of his administration. But on a personal note, is it difficult for you to continue being a supporter of the president in the midst of a lot of people who do not think that he can get us out of the situation? Not because they don't believe in his capacity, but because their quality of life has diminished. And many Nigerians blame him because he's the one on whose table the buck stops. So it's just natural that they would turn their angst towards him. Is it difficult to remain an avid supporter of this man?
I will remain an avid supporter of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu because I believe that he has the capacity and that he's very sincere with his policies that he has rolled out for Nigerians. You see, when we know we are all in the Nigerian market, we are all in Nigerian society, we live here, we see that things are tough, quite all right, particularly for the masses. Maybe the elites can still go by, but the masses, things are really, really tough for them. And I believe that the president is addressing the issue of the masses particularly. Don't forget that it was this same president, even while President Buhari was still in office, on a courtesy visit to Aso Rock, he said, let the poor breathe. So you can see that he understands the problem of the masses. But he had to take these hard decisions so that the masses will not have to die or crumble completely in future if you don't take the decisions now. Because it's like somebody, instead of, okay, you used to take 3 loaves of bread before in a day. Then you have circumstances in which the supply is not coming and there is no money to buy. So rather than keep on taking that 3 loaves of bread and finish it in about 3 or 4 or 5 days, and then you have nothing else, okay, you take a little, half a slice, take water with it to prolong your life for some time. So by which maybe production or supplies will come. That's what is going on right now. We know that people are going through hardship, but I have also lived in this country for quite some time. And every year, as a journalist, in those days, we used to say last year was better than this year. For Nigerians, the previous year is always better than the current year. It has been so since I became an adult. Every December, we say, oh, last year we were buying this thing for 5 naira. This year we are buying it for 7 or 8 naira. We say that every time. So it's not as if it is absolutely new, you know. But also for political reasons, particularly those who have not yet come to terms with the fact that the election is over and an outcome, we have had an outcome. Some people still want to continue to sabotage the economy. I believe there is sabotage in some of the things, particularly in the area of currency.
We'll talk about currency.
Yeah. But so what I'm saying is that a lot of these things is amplified. People are suffering, but a lot of the things you see in the media is amplified, is orchestrated by a group of people who want to discredit the president at all costs.
Are you referring to these protests going across the country?
The protests...
Is that what you're saying? Because...
Apart from the protests...
Let's start with those protests.
Yes.
We've heard people say many of them are orchestrated, there's political backing. Someone even said, look, a protest takes preparation. Who prepared you? Who paid for the banners? Someone is definitely orchestrating a protest. Mm-hmm. Does that remove the fact that people have a reason to protest?
There are always reasons to protest at any point in time. Always. There are always reasons. But people may choose not to protest for one reason or the other. In the last government of President Muhammadu Buhari, there are reasons to protest. When Buhari came into office, the naira was changing at about 180, 190. Within a few months, it went to about 360, then 450, then 500. Nobody protested in this country. How many percentage increase will you call that? But nobody protested. Now we have had similar increases, and people are protesting. So there is reason for anybody, therefore, to say, maybe these ones are organized, are orchestrated by the enemies of the government. So we know the president have said it times, that even the central bank governor said the naira is undervalued, which means this is not the correct value of the naira. But people are deliberately, inciting people to embark on these protests. And I want to say that the NSC president should take it a little bit easy. In an emergency situation like we find ourselves, we have to have all hands on deck. Nothing should be done. Nothing should be done to further increase the hardship of the masses. Because when you go on strike, when you do protests and people are not at work, you are further, damaging the economy, and ultimately it will have even greater repercussion on the people. So let us just become a little bit, like I said, give the president and the administration a little more time. It's like somebody who went to write an exam. That's an analogy I used.
Some people might say that's a very insensitive way to look at the hardship of people, to chalk it up to some political maneuvering. When there is actual hunger in the land.
There is actual hunger in the land. There have always been hunger in the land. We have always had poverty. Even the Bible talked about it. Poverty will not be eradicated in the world.
Well,
because it's always a relative term.
If someone is taking advantage of, let's do political science.
Yes.
If someone is taking advantage of a situation, shouldn't the conversation be, why does the situation exist in the first place for someone to take advantage of it? As opposed to saying, oh, someone is taking advantage of a bad situation. Shouldn't the focus be on ensuring that this bad situation is eradicated so no one can take advantage of it?
You see, it is not as simplistic as that. The situation has always been there. I remember somebody drew my attention to an headline of a magazine in 2003. And you know the headline, Nigerians are committing suicide because of Obasanjo's policies. People thought things were extremely bad that time. And so it's always a relative term. We always have situations like this. Right now, Britain is a very highly developed economy. You saw videos of people queuing for food. To go out queuing to take food, free food. So the economy of the world generally is going through a lot of challenges. Many, even of the advanced countries, we have a lot of problems. And if you compare Nigeria with even our neighbors, the West African countries, neighboring countries, African countries generally, the situation in Nigeria is not as dire as we find in those places. Only that those people have learned to manage their problem, to live with the situation, you know, and they don't have political polarization as we have in Nigeria today. So if you go to, I saw trucks of big loads of food moving to Cameroon. Are things better in Cameroon for them to be smuggling food from Nigeria to Cameroon? And if you go across the border, I happened to travel last year with my wife across West Africa by road. I wanted to see what is the situation in other countries, practically. And when you get to Benin Republic and you compare the prices in Benin Republic with Nigeria, they are like double or triple the prices in Nigeria. You go to Ghana, the same thing. And I remember during this last AFCON, our journalists who went to Ivory Coast, they were complaining that hotels you could get for a certain amount in Nigeria, you have the double price in Ivory Coast. So I want to appeal to Nigerians that we are all in this boat together. We should not allow it to sink. We should keep it afloat. There is already a man who is piloting it, who is the captain of the boat. Give him a chance to take us to the right destination. You know,
the fact that Nigerians can get over things and move on, so we forget. You are correct in mentioning things that have happened in the past and how bad we thought it was, and then where we are right now. But you see, the fact that Nigerians are able to keep rolling with the punches doesn't mean that Nigerians are doing okay. Ultimately, doesn't it worry you that we may have, at some point, a pushback that cannot be controlled because these people have been rolling with the punches for a very long time? Doesn't that worry you?
I thank Nigerians for their endurance. We have a great spirit in this country. People manage to, no matter what the situation, how bad the situation is, Nigerians try to go out of it. This government will lead Nigeria to the right destination. I'm sure of that. Take me for my word. I'm sure the president has the right, he has the capacity to do that, and he has the sincerity of purpose to accomplish it. So, over time, already with some of the policies that are being rolled out now, maybe by next year we will have the gas, the CNG.
We were told by his office that before May 29th, we will have CNG buses, at least in the FCT.
We have CNG. A lot of things are coming up on board. But maybe by this time next year, a lot of these things would have come up because the subscription would have gone up drastically. We will have alternatives to get to PMS and things like that, and prices of food will come down, and people will forget these things. But in the meantime, I understand things are tough. Things are tough. The president used the analogy of a woman in labor who want to give birth. By the time you are pregnant and you are carrying it for 9 months, it's painful. But particularly even when you are about to give birth. But after that, there is great joy. So we may still even have more difficult time. But at the end, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
I was looking at these figures from the International Monetary Fund, and they are warning that the exchange rate of the naira may further depreciate by about 35% just this year. It could lead to inflation peaking at 44%, according to them, before the monetary policy tightening could bring the situation under control. They actually said this month. You know, they had this post-financing assessment and staff report. And they're saying that the nation's monetary policy is currently insufficiently tightened to bring inflation below 20%, while pressures on the naira persist. And they're saying this is happening in the midst of absence of local production, liberalization of commodity imports. The exchange rate would likely depreciate further, they said.
Well, IMF, they can make their forecast, and they do that from time to time. It's part of the reasons why they exist. But it is for each nation. Because the IMF people, they don't have all the answers. And they don't have monopoly of knowledge or wisdom. So it is for every nation to sit down and say what policies are best for us. How can we best tackle our problems? I am not one of those who are admirers of IMF dictation to nations. I'm not one of them. Because in many of the places, IMF only went to those countries to ruin them. You know, the best economist is the one that has the common sense economy. You know, what is the best thing for me to do in these circumstances? Forget about all the high-level theories and all that, and forecast, and we will see what will happen. But I don't want to go by IMF prediction. I would rather want Nigerian authorities, those who are in charge, the president are put in charge, Central Governor, Minister of Finance, and all the others involved, to look at the situation critically. And I'm happy now they have brought in the private sector, brought in the governors. There is now a tripartite committee looking at the whole thing holistically. Let them look at Nigerian situation critically, forget about IMF, push them aside, and see what can you do to manage your own situation to get out of this problem. That's it.
So let's talk about the Naira.
Yes.
You have, on many occasions, said there is sabotage going on. Talk to us a bit about this.
Yeah.
And do you have any proof?
I don't have to give you any concrete proof. So it's a common thing that people will know that I sabotage. I believe there are some people who are engaging in unbridled speculation with the Naira. You know, mopping up the dollars. As soon as you release dollar into the market, they just go and mop it up and go and keep it in their rooms or in their houses. That is what is going on. And I want the president to look at it because unusual situations demand unusual actions.
So what kind of action? What kind of response?
Response is for the security agencies to be involved in looking and investigating and looking at these things and stopping it. Because that's what I believe is going on.
So let's look at it practically.
Yes.
So security agencies, with the president's permission, go to banks, find out who they are giving dollars to. Is that because who's releasing the dollars out there?
It's not a question of going to the banks. Do your thorough investigation. Who are the people mopping up the Naira and the dollar? And for what purpose?
Okay.
Is it being done? And let us be frank with ourselves. Dollar is the currency of corruption in Nigeria. People, when they want to give you bribes or kickbacks, they go and give it to you in dollars. So all these things should be investigated. The government should focus attention on this and see the dollar they are buying, where is it going? Is it for proper importation or to meet obligations abroad, or people are just storing up the dollar in their homes? This is what I want the government to look at, because we are in an unusual situation, and you must adopt unusual methods to get out of it. And one of it is proper monitoring of the forest market, both the official and what we call the parallel one. Monitor them, what is going on in those places. And then you'll be able to, and I'm sure if you do that, you may find that, yes, it is true indeed that the economy is being sabotaged, that the Naira is being sabotaged.
Who do you think is sabotaging it? Just Nigerians or politically minded, politically exposed people? Who do you think is behind this?
Well, I won't pin my attention on one direction, but let the investigation reveal it. But my instinct tells me that that's what is going on.
All right. So let's talk a little bit more about the president's policies. I want to quote you on subsidy removal.
Yes.
I'm not saying they should return the subsidy on petroleum products, but these transporters that transport our goods, not persons, goods, partly farm products, the government should find a way through which they can make things easier for them, subsidize their expenses and their costs, so that the cost of transportation of goods from one place to the other can be drastically reduced. These were your views.
Yes, I stand by that.
And you know, it came at a time when some people were talking about maybe we should return back to the subsidy regime. The buffers necessary for us to handle this situation are not in place yet. Maybe I know in fact, I saw one particular economist saying, we know that the president was being bold and standing by policies that he believes will be better for Nigerians in the long run. But there's a reason why administrations before him were playing chicken. And it's because they didn't want to face the ire of the Nigerian people. Maybe he should go back there. No. But you're saying, no, we shouldn't go back there. However, you're advocating for subsidy on some level. What's really going on here?
The transporters of goods, particularly farm products, there are not too many. The major consumption of PMS is by individuals who own cars. So many of them. I'm not saying that, no subsidy for that. People are beginning to manage their lives, particularly if you go to Lagos. But those who, you know, the increases in the prices of farm produce is because of the cost of transportation. Mainly, the foods are available. And the Nigerians are producing. There is good harvest. Foods are available in the rural areas, in the farms. But to move them from one location to another, the price, the cost is enormous. And therefore, that is fueling the rise, the increases in the price of food items, particularly in the urban centers. Not in the rural areas per se, particularly in the urban centers. So what can the government do? These are a small group of people who can move these things. In certain places, if the government can even hire the trailers, hire the trucks, move these things from the farms to the urban centers where the foods, where the bulk of the consumers are located. You can imagine when you are moving tomato from Plateau or from Kano to Lagos with the cost of diesel. By the time you get to Lagos, the prices have increased 3 or 4 times. What I'm saying is that people can be identified, transporters can be identified, and government can say, okay, for the cost of your diesel, this is what we will subsidize, we will give you to this level. And then please move these goods to Lagos. You can see what the governor of Lagos have done. He has even created a kind of a model market in Idioro, Mushin, Lagos. Maybe you saw the video, where people can buy things cheaply. That's the kind of thing, And what we now do is that a lot of governments, state governments, particularly where you have big urbanization, very big towns, can find a way to subsidize the cost of transportation for moving the goods, the farm produce from one location to the other. That's what I will support. I will support the removal of subsidy. Nigerians must be made to realize that, yes, we have been over-pampered in the past. At the time we were selling fuel here for 180, I went across, like I told you last year, and when I then got to Benin Republic, I didn't see any official filling station selling fuel. Everybody was selling by the roadside, Nigerian fuel. And when I asked I went to one of the petrol stations to say I want to buy fuel, they told me they don't have it. If they have, it will be selling for almost 1,000 naira. At that time, it was 180. So we were subsidizing the whole of West Africa. And we get to Ghana, it was 900. Equivalent of 900 naira. When it was 180. We can't continue like that. We can't continue like that. So we need to create a base. It's because of this subsidy removal now, Dangote is able to come on stream. By the time Port Harcourt refinery comes on stream, Warri refinery, Kaduna refinery comes on stream, and then we begin to have better usage of gas to power our vehicles, a lot of these problems will disappear, and it will be a better day for Nigeria.
Let's talk about some of the ideas for palliative. That's what they are. They are palliatives. Many people don't like the word.
Yeah.
So there's one from the Presidential Panel on Social Investment Programs. So they're giving out, they're giving out money, really. So payments will be made directly into people's bank accounts and households that can benefit from this payment. So over 12 million people and households that can benefit from the payments that the president is planning on. Each person will receive 25,000 naira for a total of 3 months.
35,000?
25. That's 75,000 in 3 months. And that's something that the president is planning on starting. In fact, we're even seeing that it has started. So they have 3 million beneficiaries now. But given the way the rates have gone, there are probably another 12 million people and households that are supposed to benefit from this payment. What do you make of the concept of cash transfers? Many Nigerians are very skeptical about it because of what happened in the recent past. So if he's coming up with this now, how do we ensure accountability? Some people are asking, where are you getting them from? Registered where? Is it the same register that we're not sure is honest? So what do you make of this move to cushion the impact of our economic issues?
It's one policy area I don't particularly like, personally. To be frank, I'm not in favor of cash transfer. I'm not. Because number one, it can only get to a very small number of people in a population of about 223 or 225. We are making cash transfer to 12 million households. Okay, I don't know the number of
about 15 million thereabouts.
Okay, so How many people have you reached? That's number one.
They said they've reached 3 million.
No, how many people will you be able to reach at the end of the program? How many people will you be able to reach? And those that are left behind, are they not Nigerians as well? That it is not getting to them? And those people who are, that it is getting to, for 3 months, you give them 25. What happens in the 4th month? They're already used to this free money. And then you stop it suddenly. The situation could even get worse. So, I am not too much, unless I'm well educated. I want to tell you that I'm not really educated myself regarding this policy, because I've been issued, I just didn't like it. I just didn't bother. I thought it was not the best. I believe that government should focus primarily on production. Things that will encourage massive production and discourage importation in Nigeria. That's what we need primarily. And if we produce enough food, and then you all the policies the government has embarked upon, like the substitution of petroleum for gas, for vehicles, for transportation, and all those things come on stream, and then the investment, adequate investment in power sector, in the other infrastructural developments, you embark on those ones, road development and all that. Massive housing. I think that will serve the masses of Nigeria better, because this will get to most people. And then the fact that also in the area of education and health, that you make it more accessible, education and health for the masses. Maybe free education at primary and secondary school level, which we are doing now in most states. And then the university education don't allow you to get fees to get out of the roof. Health care, subsidized, particularly for the masses. Let there be almost free medical accessibility, free medical treatment for the poor. So if you do all those things, which is general for everybody, and then like the Ministry of Health is rolling out more primary health care centers across the country, thousands of them, which means from your village, from your farm, you can easily access an health center where you can get maybe drugs or be treated free of charge. That will provide better succor for the Nigerian people.
So no to cash transfers, you're not?
I am not a fan of that policy.
Well, let's talk about something else then. Let's move on to something one of your contemporaries has asked for. He went to a court, Mr. Falana, went to a court and, picked up a part of our laws that many people had ignored for a very long time, where the government can fix prices on goods and commodities, because apparently a lot of the increases we're seeing in the cost of food items has nothing to do with the naira or the dollar. It's just people, being mischievous and trying to manipulate the situation. What do you make of the concept of putting prices on goods? You were around and very active politically at the time when it was, implemented back in the day. What do you make of that request?
Well, like I said, when you have an unusual situation like this, sometimes you have to take very unusual measures. At the time of, that's why I say Nigeria has gone through all these things. It's a circle. Nigeria has gone through all these things. Nothing is new in Nigeria. I, as an adult, I know that we have passed through all this. By the time the issue of price control came in the 70s and early 80s, it was because people thought prices were getting out of the roof, that things were extremely expensive. And then the military government then said, okay, we are instituting price control over goods. And they will go to your shop and compel you to sell at that particular price that they think is the right one. Now we move from that to more or less a laissez-faire economy. Everybody is free to sell at his own price. It's a question of buy and sell, demand and supply. We have moved to that. But now I'm not going to oppose Fem Falana, which is a panacea for a short-term solution in the circumstances in which we find ourselves. This is an unusual situation. Like I said initially, I said there are people who are ready to sabotage the economy just to score political points. And there are masses who are not, for non-political reasons, who just want to take advantage of the situation and make money for themselves. So in that kind of situation, the kind of panacea that Mr. Fem Falana proffered may not be unreasonable in the circumstances. It may not.
Is it implementable?
To some extent, it may be implementable, yes. If, for example, now, you find that there are goods that are being imported even before now, and you are being sold for a particular price, they are not new imports. And then suddenly you have increased the price astronomically. It may be necessary to go and challenge those people, to challenge them on why that should be the situation. So I believe, yeah. And there are some people who may want to take advantage of situations and hoard goods for a little while, create artificial scarcity, and then push them gradually into the market at very exorbitant prices. Those kind of things can be curbed. You can have agency of government that can move against them. I'm saying that's not for a long-term purpose. Ultimately, just for this short term. Ultimately, we need to get out of that kind of regulation. We need to find our ground in which the forces of demand and supply will play itself out completely. And things can be stabilized. People can be sure. If you are selling your good higher than my own, and my market is next to your own, people will not go to your own. That's the kind of thing I want to see, not actually price control. But like I said, when you have an unusual situation like this, you have to take some unusual measures as well.
So let's talk a little bit about reducing the cost of governance, because that is a big conversation right now. We're hearing that the president is biting another bullet. There has to be a reason why Mr. Oronsaye's report was ignored for so long. But President Tinubu has decided to implement this report, and it's caused ripples across the political landscape because it means the merger or removal of many agencies to reduce the cost of governance. What do you make of Mr. Oronsaye's report and the president's plans to implement it?
That's why I remain a great admirer of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. This is the man Nigeria needs for this moment. The man who can take the hard decisions. We have the courage to take the hard decisions. Who is not afraid of the political fallouts. You see, you can't continue to pander to political interests and refuse to take the hard decisions you know can move your country forward. No. So everybody, Oronsaye, the committee was set up by government. He submitted the report, the government ignored it. Successive government came here and ignored the report. And we know that report, I'm a supporter of the implementation of the Oronsaye report. Because we have too many agencies who are doing duplicated jobs all over the place. Every street you go to Abuja, you will see one agency or the other. What are they doing really? And the chief executive there will be entitled to some paraphernalia of office, some perquisites of office. And then you just spend money. The Nigerian budget annually, you are consuming about 90% of it on recurrent. What do you have for capital expenditure? So no economy can survive like that. I have gone to read the kind of economy we operated. For example, in the Western region, during the time of Chief. The recurrent expedition was less than 25%. Capital was almost 75%, which enabled him to do all the programs he did. Now we're having the reverse, even worse. And then we expect development in Nigeria. People complain of bad road, people complain of lack of infrastructure, this and that. Because we are consuming all the money for nothing. The job that could be done by one person is being done by 10 people. And then a lot of people are just coming to office to read newspapers. So I support that Oronsaye report. But I want the president, the only thing I will want is this. I listened to one of your programs, channels. One of the people who came on one of your programs, either yesterday or the day before, was saying that, I think it was Chinwo Kumbaloye, who said that when Oronsaye report was submitted, it was talking of about 350 agencies of government that needed to be reduced to about 150. But since then, we have now created over 1,300 agencies. We now have over 1,300 agencies. So you cannot claim to be implementing Oronsaye in these circumstances. What we should do is to probably call Oronsaye back with his committee members or infuse them with new members. The time you submitted your report, you had 350 agencies, you wanted them to be merged into 150. Now we have 1,300. Go and review the whole thing. Look at the new situation, because every year we create new agencies. Yesterday, I watched the proceedings of the Senate, in which a senator rose up and said he wanted to create a commission that will control the infiltration of small arms, or regulate some, control the infiltration of small arms into the country. I said, that's another commission again you are creating. So what is the work of the army, the police, all the security agencies we have?
And there is an agency that actually looks at the proliferation of arms and small weapons across the country. It exists.
You want to create another one. So this is how we keep on creating and duplicating functions. Even when you create that commission, will they have enough personnel to mount all roadblocks to check them when they are smuggling the arms across Nigeria? The police are already there. The army, they're already there. So, Oronsaye, if the president really wants to achieve the result he desires, and I know he's a man of courage, he's ready to reduce the cost of governance, he should call Oronsaye back and say, Mr. Oronsaye, thank you for the job you did that time, but events have overtaken this. Because now, at that time, you are talking of 350. We now have 1,300. Go back and help me streamline it to so level. Because we can't definitely be talking of that 350 when we already now have 1,300 agencies.
I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned the National Assembly, because for the Nigerian who's watching right now, that's another big guzzler of resources. Should there be some kind of cut back on how much funding the National Assembly gets? Many people have accused them of being insensitive at a time when everyone is told to tighten their belts. They're buying cars, they're being bought cars in hundreds of millions of naira.
Yeah, I won't be a member of National Assembly myself.
Oh, yes.
I think it's a necessary arm of government. In fact, without National Assembly, there is no democracy. So it's because you have National Assembly, the House of Rep and Senate, that you talk of democracy. Because that is the only branch of government that is absent in a military dictatorship. You still have the executive and judiciary in military dictatorship. Now, so it's necessary arm of government. But what I would advise the current legislators to do is to put a sample for Nigerians. If you are asking Nigerians to tighten their belts, please ensure that you are not loosening your own. Don't let people see you loosening your own belt when you are asking them to tighten their own belt. There are some symbolic gestures you can make to set a sample for the society. Because you are at the top there. Set a few examples, you know.
Such as?
Okay, say, we are reducing the cost of so. We are reducing our allowances by this measure. We are reducing so. If you are trying to buy a Land Cruiser, okay, because of the situation we find ourselves, we will now buy a Prado, we will buy a smaller car, things like that. Little gestures. After all, I know the majority of them who are there can on their own afford those cars. So as a matter of setting a sample for society, they can do such things. But their work is necessary. They need to do their jobs. They won't do cost cutting to the level in which you jeopardize their work or negatively impact on their contribution to society. So, but I believe that it is absolutely necessary at this time when you are appealing to the masses to bear with government, that you should be seen to be at least making some sacrifices yourself. That is when it will resonate with the masses.
Before we let you go, let's take a look at politics. Of course, you're a very strong member of the All Progressives Congress. Congratulations, you have a candidate for the Edo elections. How do you think the party is going to survive in Edo? You're up against a very popular candidate from the Labour Party, and you're in a battlefield that has been run by the PDP for a very long time. What do you think are the APC's chances?
I am very optimistic that the APC will prevail in Edo State this time around. I'm very, very optimistic. Let's look at our opponents first. The PDP is fractured, extremely fractured. Even yesterday, the deputy governor went to the national secretariat of the party to accuse them of giving a certificate of return to the supposed winner of the primaries. And he's challenging it, and he has threatened to go to court. And for my findings, he has considerable support in the state too. But also remember that since the last election, a lot of PDP leaders in that state have crossed to APC because of what they say is the oppressive and the oppressive policies of the governor and his non-recognition of the leadership there. A lot of them have since moved to APC. So it is in this election you will see the impact. But you also saw the impact, even last year election. PDP could not win a single senatorial seat. As we speak, APC has 2 senatorial seats in Edo State, and Labour has 1. PDP 0, even though the governor, the incumbent governor is of the PDP extraction. So I am optimistic that, given that scenario, APC will trump PDP in the elections. There's no doubt about that. I don't think PDP... And for the record, if you are going to bring your friend from Lagos to impose him on the people, or to cajole people to present him as the candidate of the party, you must have a fantastic record to show. I don't think that is the situation with Obaseki in Edo State. So the PDP is lying prostrate there. I'm not sure they can rise to mount a serious fight. Now, and you now find Labour. Labour is the Labour candidate has great pedigree, former president of Nigerian Bar Association, a likable person, great character and all that. But has Labour been able to establish very firm structures across all the wards, all the polling units, all the nooks and crannies of the state? I doubt it. So it may be a great personality, but what is the structure? Why is the structure to carry him to victory? That may be absent. So, but we will see. And then don't forget that the 2 major parties in Nigeria are still the APC and PDP. Labour had a good showing in the presidential election, but since then, they won 1 seat for governorship, which is Abia. They have not been able to win anything there.
But they are moving. They didn't have 1 seat before. They didn't have any governor before.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They had 1 seat. They now have 1 seat in Abia. But they are yet to prove to us.
Let's not just call it 1 seat. They have a governor.
A governor out of 36 governors.
They didn't have any before.
They didn't have any before.
But they have 1 now.
Yeah.
So they are moving forward.
So you can see the other 2 parties will bring their full weight to bear on the Edo elections. Be an off-season election. All of them will be involved in Edo State trying to win the election. You
know, that actually brings me to our final question, which has to do with local politics. The label given to politicians, and I want you to be able to tell me as a politician if you agree with this. Because the image that is given is that politicians are unscrupulous people. Someone said to me, if you know you want to be holy, then don't do politics. The amount of lies we have to tell is unbearable for someone who's not ready to play this game. If you know that you're a moralist, then go and become a priest or an imam or something, but don't come into politics and be expecting people to act morally. Is that really true, that all politicians are immoral people? Someone else had said to us on this program that you cannot blame politicians for how they behave. When we brought up the issue of local politics and how unscrupulous many of these local politicians can be, he said you can't blame politicians. Blame INEC for not being strong enough to rein them in. And I asked him, are politicians not Nigerians? How do you feel about this image that has been given to people like you who have been in politics for a very long time?
I think it's unfair. Not everybody, in any society, in any association, any gathering, whether you are in a class, you will find the bad eggs and the good eggs. Even in your organization, there are people you may think are not morally upright, and there are those you will think you admire. So that's common to every situation, every organization, every situation. Politicians, like and that's a group of people, a huge, large number of people that we call politicians. Naturally, there will be some bad eggs among them. But I want to assure you there are very good people who are also in politics, who are in politics because they have the interest of the people at heart and they want to make a change in society. I don't think of myself as morally bankrupt. No. I think that everywhere I've served, and a lot of my people can bear testimony to that, we try as much as possible to leave things better than we met it. So, politicians, just putting everybody in that same box, using that kind of labor for everybody will not be fair. If that person who came to you for a program said that, he can say that of himself. But there are good politicians. All our leaders that we revere today, they were politicians. Nnamdi Azikiwe was not a politician. We used to say he was a bad person. Sardauna of Sokoto, we used to say he was a bad politician, a bad person, morally bankrupt. No. Or Shifo Bafemawolo, or Aminu Kano, even Shehu Shagari. These are very decent human beings. Even when you talk among pastors, so-called men of God, you see a lot of bad eggs among them too, who only came into that, who only claimed that God called them because they wanted a job for themselves, and they're out there deceiving the masses. So it's not fair to just say when somebody is in politics, he's unscrupulous, he's morally bankrupt, he's stupid, a bad person. No, I don't think so. Among politicians, we find a lot of very, very good persons. I don't want to mention contemporary politicians that I know who are very nice people. I don't want to mention that. So I decided to mention those you know who are dead.
I want to hear some of the recent ones.
I don't want to mention...
I'm sure, because many young people right now who are watching this program have mythical ideas of these names that you called before. Are there people now that young people, in your view, should be looking up to?
At the time that those people were active in politics, a lot of people were also describing them as very bad people. There are people, at the end of the day, some of the instant judgment we pass on our leaders, on politicians, are very much often overturned by appeal to the higher court of history. Because history is the one to judge ultimately when you look at the spectrum. There are people now, you may say, idiots, bad people, but 20, 30 years down the line, you look back and say, they were great men. So I don't want to mention those ones now because also that will be at the risk of what may happen tomorrow. The person who is good today, maybe suddenly can turn out to be bad tomorrow. So I don't want to mention, but let's mention those that at one point or the other, people are saying were terrible people, corrupt people, people have no good interest of the nation at heart. Don't forget, Shibabula went to prison. I went to prison. Those who sent to prison, did they think it was good? No. But over time, we now treat him like an angel. All our leaders, Michael Opara, all of them, these are people who made great sacrifices for the good of the nation. So I want to believe that even among the contemporary politicians, history will bear me out that some of them in future will be venerated.
I want to thank you so much for making time to speak with us on Political Paradigm, and good luck with all the work you have ahead of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
We have been speaking with Mr. Adeyeye, Nigerian politician and member of the All Progressives Congress, former Minister of State for Works, former Senator for Ekiti South Senatorial District, former Nadeko chieftain, current national chairman of the Southwest Agenda for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, swagger, journalist, and author. Please join the conversation online, watch current and past episodes on channelstv.com, and leave your comments respectfully, of course. Let's keep asking until the accountability question is answered. I'm Kayla Magwa. See you next time.